Welcome back, Wolfpack. Vrolas here to some Bouffalant battles. So, I'm going to talk about why this format's a little different right now, but mostly you can see my team in the bottom left for the bottom screen. It's going to be about getting Bouffalant into a position to super duper sweep and maybe get some fun out of it from there. So, Caesar, Blastoise is going to be like damage dealers. Same with Talonflame, they just come in, go try to get a lot of damage and remove threats, and then let Bouffalant just go for the win. Alomomola, Rotom, very heavy tanks. So, as we can see, the opponent has a team that isn't going to like the Rotom, so I don't want to lead Rotom. That is a pretty ferocious looking Pokemon right there in the lead with the Weezing. Can't have the Will-O-Wisp. I'm thinking Blastoise, Rotom, and then Bouffalant. So that should be pretty good, and we're going to see how this battle goes. Now, the reason I'm doing the battle like this, no face cam, no fancy layout, is because I'm doing a lot of battle recordings, and that's because they were all off screen, off camera when I was doing my Bob Ross battles, and I saved them as battle replays, and I didn't want to like reset up everything just to play a battle replay through that. So I just have my Fan Fridays set up, and I'm doing a live battle now, and I think the next two battles after this are showing the raw power of Bouffalant. So we can get a lot of fun out of this. Oh, it goes for the Crocodile. That's going to be sick. Let's just Mega Evolve. Could Fake Out, could Aura Sphere, could Ice Beam. I'm trying to think about his team and like how he would respond to a Mega Blastoise, because that was just the lead right there. Throw out the Ice Beam for consistent damage. The Hydro Pump's going to mess him up. Let's just go for the Hydro Pump. That's so much damage right there. And he is going to go for that Withdraw. So, depends on what attack he was anticipating. A Florges. Yeah, like that's a huge special defense tank. So, at least I'm using my most powerful special attack in this situation. But this is good, because Florges, you know, it probably won't be able to survive the Bouffalant if it has some health missing. And he might go for a Wish on this turn, so I do get a free switch. Now, that doesn't leave me too many options. Yeah, that did damage, but it didn't do a crazy amount of damage. But I've already seen two of his Pokemon. So, I'm thinking he might want to either set up a Calm Mind or something, which is excellent for the Bouffalant. Hey, we can get Bouffalant going. So, yeah, Bouffalant's a really amazing Pokemon, and unfortunately, some people don't get the Bob Ross battles because they don't know Bob Ross, so they just don't like it when I talk smooth and try to talk about all the happy things going on in the battle. It's not for them, so I'm going to just show Bouffalant, you know, it's an amazing Pokemon. Like, I feel the Smeargle sweep. Smeargle went 3-0 off of a lock-on Sheer Cold. That's one of the craziest battle potentials that could happen, and I guess we're just going to throw out the Head Charge and hope for the best with this. But yeah, that was like one of the craziest things, and if you're not into the Bob Ross, you might have missed that, or I could have done a crazy title and thumbnail like, Epic Sheer Cold Smeargle Sweep, and it probably would have gotten double the views. So we're just going to do a Bouffalant special because this Pokemon is surprising when it comes to the amount of shenanigans that it does and what it can pull a team out of. Like the battles that I'm going to show, it's a lot of comebacks and stuff, and it shows you can put Bouffalant as a really solid Scarf Pokemon for the late game and just win with it. So that's going to be the outspeed on the Head Charge. How will the Florges handle it? It won't. Just simple as that. It won't. So yeah, even if it was like bold, full defensive investment, that's still pretty impressive. So we're going to see how this works now, and that's why I like having the other tanks, you know. I can go into Rotom, get a small bit of damage, get some status in there on a burn that's pretty crucial, and really just make up from it for there, and then bring in Bouffalant for the ultimate cleanup. Hitmonchan! Alright, I tried to say that like as if I was doing the Pokemon Cry, but not really. He might be sashed, which would kind of really suck. He could be going for the Mach Punch for like super effective damage on the Iron Fist. In that case, I think the Head Charge will still like get a message across and really mess this guy up because we're still good. Like, we're going to be able to clean this one up. Oh, wow, I get the outspeed. Oh, yeah, he's got to be focused. Oh, wow, we actually don't finish him off. That's very surprising. Normally, this guy's a one-hit KO machine. So, all right, Bouffalant will go down in this. We got to see some damage, you know. It's about showing off Bouffalant's damage. That's what I mean. If we got just a little bit of damage in there, would have worked out really nice, but we still have two really solid Pokemon. I mean, going into the Rotom is going to be like burn onto Hitmonchan or burn onto the Crocodile, and it's over. So I'm also going to just throw damage out. I mean, Thunderbolt's going to be reliable damage on the Hitmonchan. Hydro Pump will be bad for the Crocodile. So this game's pretty much mine in this situation. Was cool that I can deal with Florges with a Bouffalant, which is nice. So Drain Punch is going to start doing much less damage, and I'm thinking I might need to go and throw out the Hydro Pump on this. Could miss, but here's the weird thing. Like, I talk about Hydro Pump's accuracy being unreliable, and I throw out a Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp only has a 5% better chance of landing, so we'll see what happens. Now, is this Hitmonchan like defensive invest? Like I feel like it shouldn't have survived that head charge as well as it did, but we'll throw out the Hydro Pump and we're just gonna let this battle go on. So yeah, Drain Punch, especially after the Drain Punch. Wow, that's not doing anything anymore. Is he Choice Band? I think he just might be Choice Banded into the Drain Punch. Hit health invested, HP attack, you know. Why is it tanky like this though? Yo, he shouldn't be that tanky, I swear. I remember doing a guide on it, I thought he was like, hey, this kind of helps out for my guide. Sure, he's losing, but this is actually surprising what Hitmonchan's doing right now. I almost need to look up what I did for the guide, because I said it was OP and had like good potential, but I didn't think this. Now we're going to see what the Thunderbolt does. I mean, that should knock it out. Are you kidding me? What is this thing made of? Like, that's ridiculous. Now he is going to go down to the burn. Hold up. I gotta go and look up Hitmonchan now. This was unexpected to say the least. Hitmonchan. Yeah. He's got Keen Eye, Iron Fist, Inner Focus, so he can't be flinched. That doesn't really apply to this game. I mean, he only has 79 defense, 110 special defense, 50 hit points. Yeah, like, what happened? Alright. Well, that's going to be the Crocodile. I'll throw out the Will-O-Wisp. That way, like, Blastoise will just have a super easy time in pretty much every situation. Knockoff, though, will be enough damage to knock me out. Ooh, spooky Nuchis, man. This is, like, pretty serious, because that's going to be the Moxie boost. I am Mega, so his knockoff isn't going to be as absurd. And, I mean, what do I do? Because Aura Sphere is going to be, like, the most reliable super effective damage. I do have the Fake Out, though, which is nice as well. So, Blastoise, lead with the Fake Out. That'll at least be some damage, maybe breaking a Sash if he has it. He was a lead, could have been sashed. We saw the Hitmonchan just being absurd right there with the leftovers. It had leftovers, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, so I'm thinking Aura Sphere will be enough to take out the Crocodile. I don't want the Hydro Pump to miss and then have like bad things happen. So let's just go for that Aura Sphere and see how this works. I think this did, like I said, I'm trying to justify the Bouffalant on this. Oh, the knockoff, so he's scarfed into that knockoff, I guess. And it wasn't absurd amounts of damage, but the Aura Sphere, that's a KO anyways, and that will be the game. So I think Bouffalant did enough to show, you know, it does damage. Later game, like, wow, I'm trying to figure out that freaking Hitmonchan, though. So yeah, if he was missing a little bit of health already, that would have been easy pickup. I'm no doubt that it would have one-shot the Crocodile. So, I mean, Bouffalant recently one-shots everything on that team. The only thing it has to get over is its speed. Might have gotten outsped by the Crocodile. Might have gotten knocked out by the knockoff from missing health on that head charge. But overall, let's go and get to the battle replays now. Alright, so the battle against the first opponent is embarrassing and kind of hilarious, and it just like shows what happened. So the opponent leads with a Garchomp. I'm going into my full defensive bold Alomomola, and I'm thinking, yeah, I got this. So he goes for an Outrage right there, and suddenly my bold full defensive Alomomola gets crit and loses tons of health. And after running damage calculations and just I didn't run damage calculations during the battle, I did afterwards for this video, I realized that that's a Choice Banded Adamant Garchomp. I haven't seen the bold ferocity of a Choice Band Adamant Garchomp in a very long time, but he just goes and tears through my defensive team. I also kind of messed up right there on the Protect, because now he's not going to get confused on his Outrage, so that was a pretty bad call. I probably could have just like taken the hit and manned up, and then he would have had a chance of hitting himself in confusion. But yeah, just Choice Band Garchomp with Outrage. I mean, I guess if you bring a Scizor or some kind of Fairy counter, but it looks like he didn't for this team, it's like still ridiculous. I mean, look, that's an almost pure defensive Rotom. I think I just have special defense nature with like 252 in defense and 252 hit points, and I almost get ruined right there. Well, almost one shot on a Rotom from that Choice Band Adamant Outrage Garchomp. So very risky indeed. I mean, you do have to worry about the confusion. You do have to worry about like super effective hits. But I mean, if you don't die, it's going to obliterate any Pokemon. Those were tanks right there, people. But it is going to be susceptible to getting outsped and picked up. So we can see that right here. I bring in the Bouffalant. Bouffalant's like, alright, this is so free. He's already missing some health. The head charge is going to be absolutely serious right there. And that's going to be damage. Critical hit doesn't matter in that situation. We already know the Bouffalant puts out damage, and we know it's an Adamant Outrage Choice Banded Garchomp. So he brings in his Rotom, and it's Rotom Heat. So I'm thinking, alright, he might be like scarfed, and he definitely is if he's outspeeding me like this. So he does have a bit more of offense on that Rotom, and I just threw out the head charge, and that's going to be enough to knock him out right there. So I'm one-shotting the probably not too invested Rotom, and we're getting down to the last little bit of hit points right here, and he brings in the Sylveon. So that's going to be Sylveon. I'm still scarfed. I'm still in outspeed. That's going to be, boom, one-shotting the Sylveon. I went back and I did damage calculations on this one as well, and that's actually like a full offensive Sylveon. So he had a lot of hard aggro on the team, but since even though I did the damage to myself afterwards, I got the KO, then recoil applied, so I still won that battle, even though it was a 0-0 win for me, like 0 Pokemon remaining. Clean field, but Bouffalant, you know, he came back and he did just well, and you can see the damage he puts out. Like, you know, Sylveon's somewhat tanky naturally, and you can still one-shot it if it isn't defensively invested, so it's a pretty crazy battle. Now, this next one, this was when I was running my Bob Ross team, and then this was a really hard battle to commentate for, and then I ended up just saving. Like, I just gave up on this one a lot of the way through, so we went to the ultimate sub-seed. He brought in the Pidgeot, I brought in Whimsicott. This is on like 4 times speed right now for this battle replay, and it was pretty much, he's not going to do enough damage to knock me out, and then I skip ahead to where he uses Roost. So, yeah, a lot of turns passed to get him down really low. He uses the Roost, and then I realized, well, Whimsicott isn't going to be able to do anything. I'm only losing a 16th of my health because of the leftovers, and I'm going to run out of Substitute. I didn't use any PP maxes, so we run out of that, and then I eventually, you know, many turns later, Whimsicott goes down because I run out of Substitute to use, and he has the Roost, so there's nothing I can do. I just decided to sacrifice Whimsicott off right there, and I go into Bouffalant, and Bouffalant's like, yo, man, this is so easy. So he goes for the Roost. I don't know if he, like, what he was expecting. Maybe he expected to, like, try to have me take some recoil damage and then finish me off or something, but he doesn't respect the damage, and I pretty much one-shot a Mega Pidgeot with that head charge. I mean, it's so good. Now, the thing is, I'm running Adamant Nature, I believe, so it's really easy to outspeed me on this Bouffalant, but even then, I still have a good amount of hit point bulk, so it's hard to one-shot me. And I had a feeling that this was going to be a Focus Sash, but I still threw out the head charge anyways. You know, Breloom's a really easy Pokemon knockout. Focus Sash, I anticipated the Spore, and I was just kind of gambling on this one. I knew my end game was going to be just like this. Eventually, I'll wake up from the Spore, and maybe I can switch into the Alomomola and have magic happen. So that was the plan. Foe's weak, go get him a Alomomola. Mach Punch, so yeah, and I guess he doesn't really have anything else but the Mach Punch with the Bullet Seed, then like Spore and some other move, but yeah. Bullet Seed on the Alomomola. At least I'm fully defensive invested. The Technician does boost this to a lot of damage. Only 3 hits. I do survive, and I managed to knock off and get the KO on him, so that's really nice right there. I was like, you know what? If the Alomomola survives and finishes off the Breloom, maybe there's a chance Bouffalant wakes up, and then I go and win the battle. And now in comes a Sylveon. So fortunately, Alomomola is just going to be able to like play around with this one. I protect, just kind of scouting out what he does. He has a Hyper Voice, so I'm thinking, awesome. It's going to be an offensive Sylveon. I get the outspeed on that Wish, and we're good to go. But then since I outspeed, I'm like, wait a second. That's probably like a tanky Sylveon now. So he's just throwing out the Hyper Voice. He wants a Alomomola off the field. And now it's back into the Bouffalant, which is asleep. So I'm like, I need to wake up if I have any chance of this. So Bouffalant's fast asleep on this turn. It's like, darn, that's kind of bad right there. And then he throws out the Hyper Voice. So the Hyper Voice is going to be a strong hit, but not enough to knock me out, and then my wish comes true. And Alomomola, half of Alomomola's health is almost like all of my health. So I do get the head charge on it. As we saw with that other Sylveon, that was a one-shot, but this Sylveon, it's a full defensive Sylveon. It's even got the Jaboka Berry, and it's rocking all sorts of craziness right there, but he went for the Calm Mind this turn. Now, this was an interesting play for him because I don't think he expected that much damage to happen for the recoil on the Jaboka, and he wanted to Calm Mind because he used that Calm Mind after, like, my head charge for me just waking up. So he might have not expected me to wake up. He might have not expected a lot of things. He just wanted to finish me off with a Hyper Voice. So it wasn't necessarily a misplay. He thought that was like the most optimal play for him, and he just didn't understand what was going to happen that turn. Because yeah, he could have Hyper Voiced me and then won, but what if he didn't expect Jaboka Berry to do that much? I survived the Hyper Voice, and now I just one-shot him anyways. So, or two-shot him, finish him up on that one anyways. So it was a really interesting call on his part. I still picked it up, but it also shows like the differences of Sylveon, that I can one-shot an offensive Sylveon, but at like full hit point defensive Sylveon, it's a respectable two-shot. And since they don't have that much damage on the Hyper Voice did around half. So you can survive the Hyper Voice, get the two-shot on them, and that's still going to work out for the Bouffalant pretty well in that situation. And I want to make the last part of this video just from the Bob Ross special, since not a lot of people got to see it, but it still shows, you know, Bouffalant as a cleanup Pokemon. If anything, these do show that Bouffalant doesn't always have to be a sweep or something kind of like huge revenge. And it shows that after a long battle has taken place, Bouffalant can still make some magic happen. Even though this battle isn't really too long, we're only 2 minutes in and Bouffalant's ready to go against this Charizard. So I was thinking, well, if it's Charizard Y, probably don't want to go in and eat any kind of move. And if it's Charizard X, he might be going for the Dragon Dance, in which case, might as well try to throw out the Bouffalant and see what happens. So with this, I get to actually make that Charizard Y prediction, and he goes for the Solar Beam. So he goes in, absorbs light, does a good amount of damage, but because it's not the Alomomola anymore, I do tank it up because Bouffalant's pretty awesome like that. I mean, you just have enough hit points to where you can survive some pretty solid hits, and that's why I go for the Head Charge, Scarf Outspeed, and that's going to just be crazy damage and the one-shot onto the Charizard Y. So, you know, it can take out a Pokemon when it needs to. You can either use it as revenge, you get the right sweep coming in, or not right sweep, right switch as in a situation like that. I still survive with a little bit of hit points. Now, unfortunately, I do have to switch out because of the Mamoswine. That could be Scarfed, that could also just have Ice Shard, and I don't want to deal with any of that. But, you know, at least the Alomomola is there, and we can also go and check out another part of the clip. So with this next part, it's mostly just Subseed again, and this was a bad battle. It was a weird battle because I brought two seed Pokemon. I had the Trevenant, which leads seeds into Will-O-Wisp, and I had the Whimsicott, which also seeds. So a lot of very common weaknesses, and it was pretty much the same playstyle. So I needed to make sure Bouffalant would backbone this one pretty hard, and for the most part, it ended up working out. So I'm enduring all kinds of crazy hits from this. You know, we had the Overheat, we had the Hidden Power Ice. So yeah, like he lowers his special attack, and then I'm able to like kind of tank it out on the Whimsicott, and I have just a couple of hit points left as I'm substituting and stuff. So it was a pretty drawn out battle, but then in the end, Bouffalant comes in and he gets some really easy pickoffs. First, that Leech Seed was enough to knock out the Manectric just from being there, and then there was already a super low hit points on the Machamp that comes out. So it was easy for it to clean up, but it shows like after a long battle, at least Bouffalant will be there, or if things go bad. You know, if Manectric had more hit points left, he already lost special attack, and I could tank up some strong neutral hits from it anyways. So it was just that Bouffalant could come in, clean up where he needed to, and that was going to be the battle from there. So overall, Bouffalant knows how to put out damage. This is just kind of like showing, you know, works around with damage a lot. In a 6v6, I imagine Bouffalant being an incredibly powerful Pokemon, because there's going to be a lot more Pokemon that are going to be easier to clean up at the end of the battle, and you do have like 5 other Pokemon to help weaken your opponent instead of just 2. So I was able to make that work out pretty well, and just kind of showcases the Bouffalant pretty well. So if you guys enjoyed the way Bouffalant plays, you know, I didn't want to just put it on the Bob Ross one. It's a shine on its own, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you for watching.